So we know that that's not your keyboard, but your keyboard. That's Reginald's Casio. What kind of keyboard do you play?
Are you gonna edit that part out?
No, I'm gonna edit it. I'm gonna edit this part in.
I've got some Yamaha gear, but a lot of the stuff I use is studio stuff. You know, so
it's already there.
Yeah.
Yamaha what?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. It's a Yamaha. That was very, 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 very mellow. Where you going, man? Well, I gotta introduce you. Who are you?
Okay.
Who are you? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the basement. That's BASSMINT. That was a nice little piece, brothers. How y'all doing today?
Doing good.
Great.
Welcome to the basement. Now, I know your name. You in the basement on every single last episode.
I try to make everyone, man.
Everyone.
I try to make everyone.
That's because this is literally your basement.
It's true.
Welcome to the basement, Reginald
Thank
Canty.
you very much.
Thanks for playing that little piece accompanying Dean. Tell us your name, Dean.
Dean Strong.
Dean Strong, a keyboard player. And we about to do an interview with him. But before we get to that, we're gonna introduce the panel of other bass players is here, and then we can get straight to that interview. All right. So starting over here, you can go on now, Reggie.
Oh, I'm just got a moment.
Starting over here, tell us your name, sir.
Buckaroo Holmes.
Buckaroo Holmes, a bass player, a basement alumni. What you got there?
Acoustic playmate.
4-string. That's awesome. That's awesome, man.
My baby.
Next to him, tell us your name.
Tim Blackman.
Could you hit that light for me?
It's the
other one, there's a little chain.
metal
chain up top.
There you go.
I would have been scared as soon as you said metal. I'm like, I ain't clicking no metal.
Human conductor.
Did you tell me your name, Tim?
Tim Blackman.
Yeah, welcome to the basement. Tim, what kind of bass that you got there, man?
Got a 5-string PV Dyna bass.
How you like it, man?
Man, love it. It's heavy though, but it's got a great sound.
Brother, you gonna have to come back and let me get that interview.
Alright.
So you can tell your story. Which reminds me of these two guys right here. Tell us your names.
Skip Simons
And Eric William Markley.
Now, they have been coming to the basement faithfully since 2016. This is 2017. And I always said, man, keep coming back. I got to get that interview with you. And I had to actually literally say, okay, can you do it on June 10th? Today is June 10th, 2017. You won't see this until it'd probably be snow outside.
10th.
No.
August 10th.
Yeah, it'd probably be fall again. But they came back and I'm getting the interviews with them today. So Tim, that's why I'm saying, man, you'll be on the list soon. And with Reggie, when you sitting over there a second ago, now you over here. But
I'm cloning.
we also have with us, tell us your name, Rod.
Rod Gaston.
Rod Gaston, another bass player. Just like I was telling Tim over here, this is you guys' first time being in the basement.
Yeah.
But thank you for watching it previously and stuff. You say you've been watching it for a minute.
Yeah.
So, and I heard you over there without the amplifier, man. Looking forward to you coming back one day and let me get that interview. Would that be okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's cool. And then over here, sneaking in from New York is Michael Wolf. We call him Wolfie. You got to check out the interview we did with him and his son behind him. He has an awesome product, so you guys, you can come on and sit down. That'll be cool. We got a seat for you right there. And I'm sorry about that thing, but we always had those long introductions. Oh, I forgot somebody. A guitar player and piano player. We heard her playing the piano over there. And tell us your name.
Gabby.
Hey, Gabby Garrett. And then next to her is, tell us your name.
Emery. Emery Canty.
Hey, Emery Canty. Welcome to the basement. Of course, y'all practically live here. This y'all grandpa basement, so y'all be here more than we do. So again, sorry about that ding. The keyboard player, a friend of mine, he been over to the house. We talk business and all of that kind of stuff, man. Welcome to the basement, brother. How you doing?
Good.
Now, we just heard you and Reggie put some music together. So my first question to you is, when did you start playing the keyboards and why?
When and why? Okay. Well, and this was before I even had my own piano. I had heard that in the classroom, the sound of music, and of course in elementary school, the movie The Sound of Music was always a big deal. And so the teacher started singing My Favorite Things, and I thought it was beautiful, and everybody wanted to be cool and stay seated, but I kind of got into it, and so that was the first thing that inspired me to play. But I still hadn't had a piano, and my neighbors had a piano across the street, and so I started to learn scales just by ear. And by the time I got my own keyboard, I was about 15 years old, and started listening to a lot of progressive rock and jazz and classical. I listened to a lot of film scores, and that was kind of what got me in. As soon as I heard the sound of music, as soon as I heard My Favorite Things, that was just like the send-off.
Okay, so folks, in case that might happen to somebody listening to, take a listen to My Favorite Things by Gersh. What's his name?
George.
Coltrane?
John.
George Gershwin?
Yeah.
Who made My Favorite Things?
That was
Who composed it?
I thought it was Rogers.
Rogers and Hammerstein, wasn't it?
Okay, yeah, I know it was somebody, but that's an awesome song. But you talking about the version somebody else did?
No, it
Or
was
the
Rogers and
original
Hammerstein
TV version, yeah.
Yeah, well, that is an awesome song. That could inspire a whole bunch of folks musically. Peter and the Wolf was one of my favorite.
Yeah, I like
Oh,
that
yeah.
too, man.
I forget the composition I was listening to, who wrote it, but it was a jazz. It was a killer jazz. Peter and the Wolf, excuse me, and I couldn't stop playing, man. That was my jazz like go to when I was just a little kid. You know what I'm saying? My first exposure. But this ain't about me, man. But I had to say that though.
That's a Tchaikovsky.
Yeah, you're right.
But look, man. I know you're an awesome keyboard player. I done heard the different tracks of you on social media and everything. And the reason why we're doing this interview with a keyboard player amongst all of these bass players that we just introduced is the relationship that we want to talk about. That's why we gave you a pass to come in here. You know what I'm saying? Because you have
I feel privileged.
yeah, the keyboard players have a awesome relationship with the bass. And your left hand is like, metaphorically speaking, I have a closet full of chopped off left hands from keyboard players because they step on or what I consider stepping on the bass line at some churches here and there, and it's like I'm like, okay, I just chopped his left hand off. It's in my imaginary closet because he's using it in a way that's not complimentary. It's more clashy, counterproductive. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. But you're not that way. We just heard you with Reggie, and I just wanted to know your input on from a piano player's point of view, the relationship with the bass. Do you change the way you play your piano when you're playing with a bass guitarist or uprightist as opposed to when you don't have a bass player?
Well, that's a pretty good question because a lot of times when I'm writing, a lot of times I'm by myself. But I think the way that I write kind of lends itself to bass players wanting to do something because my left hand isn't really that active, and I think when Reg kind of heard me play some of the stuff, especially the ballads, I mean a lot of it's a lot of whole note stuff, and so even if you're playing bass notes as a piano player, a bass player can do variations. If you're staying on F sharp for 2 bars, a bass player could adjust. That would be an opportunity for them to do some variation on that. Yeah. And so I think it's kind of I think overall, it's just being sensitive, maybe in the moment too. I know that I was just talking about Bill Evans, but he pretty much replaced his playing any bass notes with just by doing voicings. Mm-hmm. But then if you listen to interviews with Richard T., who played with this stuff with Steve Gadd, he basically said, if I'm on stage another bass player, then there's just 2 bass players. That's how it goes. He was pretty much cut and dry with that. So I think if the end result, if it turns out great, then great. So I think it's just a matter of the composition in itself. If it sounds cluttered, 2 guys playing the same thing, then I can understand. It doesn't make sense at that point. It's useless, and I think you should always try to be economic with your notes. So that's my theory. Anyway.
Okay, well, it sounds like you know a little bit about composition and composing.
I think I had a little something to that too, because when we and Dean started working together, we were just basically sharing files on the internet. And he was sending me his solo piano pieces, and I was just adding the bass to it, and it worked like a charm. It worked like a charm. He left enough space. I had all the evidence of a mature player who knew when to leave enough space, to let things ring or not to let things ring, things like that. And then when we sat down together for the first time, we produced something that was nothing on the cuff, nothing rehearsed, blah, blah, blah. Well, it was so good, I showed it to Stanley Clark, and he thought it was him, something he did a long time ago. When that blew me away when he said that.
That's awesome.
When he said that, because, I was off screen when I was doing it. I was playing that, but it sounded like upright, you know what I mean? And I was just listening to Dean, it was a call response thing, and he had enough sense to leave enough room for me to answer what the player said. We went through there, we just looked at each other, I said, where the heck have you been all this time? Because I've never had nobody that I juggled with that quickly. And it had to have a lot to do with your preparation, because we didn't know anything about each other when we first met.
No,
but it came together very, very easily.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good, man. Well, we're going to have to do an interview with you too one day, man. It's been a while. If you go to our YouTube channel, it's called youtube.com/Ivan Williams. But if you punch in Detroit bass players and you go scroll, you know how they show you a few and they say load more? You go to the very beginning, this dude is like the second interview. Literally, he was the first, but he was the second one I posted.
Yeah.
Behind Kerry Lacey, another awesome bass player, which you probably fit well with too. He's an awesome bass player. So anyway, I wanted to ask you about your musical educational background. Did you go to college for music, or you just self-taught?
I did have lessons on and off. I went to Center for Creative Studies for a little while. I took maybe 2 lessons from a jazz guy. Most of what I learned was basic notation, and my sight reading was never that good. I always relied on my ear most of the time, because the things that I would hear a lot of times were different than what I would play on sheet. And I was like, where is that cool sound that I'm hearing? And it's like, okay, I'm going to have to get that part by ear, because it's just not, doesn't seem to be on the page.
Anything that you
frustrating to me.
Right, anything you read, you don't see those cool chords.
You don't.
And the versions or whatever it may be, and you just have to play it. Which brings me straight to, you appear to like composing music yourself. So how did that come about? How long ago, how did it come about?
Okay, well...
Writing music. Well, you know that meant composing mean writing music, but some people might be watching like, what is composing? Yeah, composing is writing music, right?
Sure.
Compositions.
Yeah, anything that evokes, thought, a composition. Most of the times when I was inspired, it was from watching something on TV, and then I could hear the music sort of in the background. So something that kind of tells a story, and so I kind of modeled my style kind of after that. It wasn't until later when I started listening to jazz that I kind of linked the two together. And I listened to Lyle Mays. He had sort of this sort of a cinematic sound, and at the same time he was doing a jazz thing. And I was like, well, that's cool. I can relate to that. The bebop thing, it took me a long time to understand kind of what they were doing. So I kind of, in a way, sort of worked my way backwards from listening to soundtracks to progressive rock to jazz rock, then to jazz, and then I could finally see, okay, this is the bridge. But it wasn't until I listened to certain artists that were kind of crossover between jazz that I kind of, it kind of made the bridge for me. Until that time, it was kind of mysterious. I was like, what are those guys playing? I don't understand.
Do you understand now? You get it now?
A little bit better.
And
Right.
But you still, every time, and then I'm thinking, okay, what did he just do? And where did that come from?
Every time, man. As much as you study,
it's a rabbit hole.
You learn. Yeah. What I learned more than anything is that every time I learn something, I learn even better that I got more to learn. I don't know. Every time I learn something, I realize how stupid I really am.
I went through a phase too where I guess I was about maybe 22, 23, and they started letting me play original compositions at my church. So people had never kind of heard that style before, so they thought it was cool, and so I got kind of cocky and thought I was the junk. And then I heard another person that was there. She had been there a while, and she was an organist there, and she just blew me away. And I was like, I don't know anything. I don't understand what I'm doing. I was like, who do I think I am? So I think that was God's way of saying, this is a gift that I gave you. This is not yours. So that was humbling. So it
had to be.
I'm a student. I still am a student.
Well, speaking of student, who inspires you, like when it comes to composing and improvising and stuff like that?
That's a long list of people, but
Give me
and it's
the
not
short
all
list.
keyboardists either.
Yeah, give me the list.
I liked a lot of the stuff that Michael Brecker was doing, the earlier stuff. I think Ennio Morricone's a film composer. I think he's great. He wrote the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I mean, the great westerns, the spaghetti westerns. He did a lot of that stuff, but also a lot of romanticism in his writing. And that draws from a lot of your classical composers like Claude Debussy and Ravel and some of the greats, Chopin. I love Bach.
Me too.
Even though that's still mind-boggling, some of the stuff that Bach
Some to
did.
say, yeah, some of the stuff he did is mind-boggling.
And of course, I guess my first love as far as keyboards was probably Tony Banks of Genesis. He was like my favorite, and he got me in the scene chords as being more important than just the flashy solos, because he wasn't a flashy player, but he was able to sort of draw in the audience because of the compelling chord changes. And I found that was like a key to really structuring well-crafted piece, because there's so many guys that can play licks, but to put something together and for people to remember it, I think you have to have all those ingredients.
What about Herbie Hancock?
Herbie's great. Herbie's a deep guy, though. Guys, I can listen to Herbie's stuff and be like, yeah, I get that. Like the stuff he did with Jocko, it's like, okay, I can understand. That was a fun thing. But then if you go into some other stuff he's doing, it's way over my head.
Mao and DC and all that stuff.
What's that?
That Mao and DC movement that he had.
I think, what was the one that really, he did something with Al Di Meola later on. That was just, it was just crazy.
So you listen to these killers you've listened to them.
Oh, yeah.
Herbie, Chick Corea, what's the other guy that was
Joey Calderazzo.
the one that passed away with
Joe Sample.
another great one. I love keyboard players, man.
Keith Emerson just died not too long ago.
Joseph Zawinu was another.
Zawinul, yeah, he was great too. Especially his solos he did on what was it, Heavy Weather?
Yeah.
Like Havana.
Yeah.
He just, it's so effortless the way he
He
sounds.
does it like he talking.
He does. He does.
And-
Just talk.
But that's just, there's a ton of keyboard players that I like, but
There's so
those,
many of them. I would
those are the
say
ones that stand out for
right
me.
now, I would say probably Mitchell Foreman is probably.
Is he a solo artist? Does he play with anybody?
Well, Mitchell Foreman, he's played with
Yeah, he's a
everybody from
freelancer.
Mahavishnu Orchestra to
Brecker Brothers.
he played with Michael Brecker. He's played with Massini. He's played with just about all the guys that came out of the Miles Davis alumni. All of those guys. But yet nobody's ever really. I've mentioned Mitchell Foreman. They're like, who's Mitchell Foreman?
Well,
But he's so diverse.
That's why we ask these questions so we can look them up, man. So I got just a couple of more questions for you.
Sure.
Which shouldn't be too difficult for you. What is your ultimate goal as an artist?
Goal as an artist. Well, for me, and if I didn't make that clear, I am a Christian, so my ultimate goal is to glorify God in what I'm doing. That's the ultimate for me. That means more than anything else, And I hope that when I interact with other musicians, whether it's musically or just talking, that I'm some kind of an influence in them wanting to maybe draw closer to Him and just closer to each other, because it's all about relationships. What we're doing now, if we walk out and don't say anything to each other, then it's very sterile, isn't it? It's just the relationship part has got to be there in whatever you do, especially something as involved as music, because music can be two-sided. It can be either extremely selfish or it can be very relational, you know. So it has a twofold benefit, and that's how we know it's a gift, because you can misuse a gift and then you can use it the right way. So I know it comes from a higher power. So that's kind of where I'm at. With it.
As do I. And me as a Christian myself, I play every Sunday at my church, unless I'm out playing somewhere outside of well, let's just call it what it is, Inkster, because that's what my church is in Inkster. And so, if I wanted to come and see you, and where could I come see you play? At your church?
I do play at my church like once a month.
And where's your church? Name of it? What's the location?
It's called Rock Church, and it's in New Haven. So it'll be kind of a drive, but it'll be worth the drive.
Right. I mean, you know, I come to see you play and get my worship on at the same time, right?
Of course. Yeah. I mean that's what it's all about. But yeah, I mean, I'm usually there playing at least once a month. They have other people that they sort of rotate there. It's a relatively big church.
Well, where else do you play besides?
I play at home in my living room.
Okay, but
I'm available for session work.
right, because look, I know for a fact that you're an awesome keyboard player, and you say that you're available for session work.
Yes, I am. As a matter of fact,
is that the only thing you're available for? I mean, what are you willing to do as a keyboard player now?
right now, I mean, I just got done, I guess a couple of weeks ago. I did a wedding for a friend, you know, and a lot of people think that a lot of the ballads that I write are, and my style of playing can be conducive for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
I've been doing weddings since I was like 19, 20 years old. I mean, that was kind of like my big break.
Okay. Well, just give me a sample of something that you might do at a wedding, right quick. Just a small, just a little inklet of what something that you might do.
Oh, at a wedding?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wrote a song called "Portrait." I'll just kind of play you a part of it.
Yeah. Well, that was awesome. I like your voice. I like your voicings, man. Everybody, you can tell the difference of how people voice their chords. And what I mean by voicings is like what inversions they use and how they position it with the other chords, you know, which is an awesome thing. Do you teach lessons? I mean,
I do teach lessons on and off, and I love teaching kids. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Reggie's granddaughter. I was writing out a little lesson for her. I actually traced her hand on a sheet of paper just to let her know her finger numbers, because that was kind of the big thing when I was teaching kids. I was like, you can't look at this as every good boy does fine. So you'll make it a two-step process when you do that. You have to see it as spacing between your fingers. You don't want to think about it.
Right.
So,
And that brings me to when me and you was hanging out once.
Yeah.
We were trying to put together how to, Skype lessons. Have that worked out for you yet?
You know what? I didn't pursue it. And I don't know what stopped me. I think something else came up. I probably got hired somewhere.
oh yeah, you were looking for a job too at the time.
Remember I went to your place, and
right.
I was like, yeah, man, I got to figure something out. And Reggie was like, well, go see Ive. I was like, okay, well, and you had all this elaborate stuff, and I was like, I don't know if
that's too much work.
I was like, I need the money now.
Right. But look, so to share with you, in a second here, we're gonna tell people how to get in contact with you. If they want to be able to hire you for session work, if they want to hire you for weddings, and he's not limited to weddings. He does bar mitzvahs, seances, whatever.
Not seances. I told you I was a Christian.
I mean, you know, the guy. In other words, he wants to play, and anything. I mean, anything coming up live that you know, you got some gigs
actually,
coming up.
And I want to make sure that I mention that. I don't know if you know Marvin Sheets.
No,
But
I've heard the
he
name.
plays with a
player.
group called Inner Spirit Project. And, you know, these are a bunch of cool guys, but they play a lot of covers. They're all Christians, and they're actually going to be playing. I'm going to be playing with them for the Make Music Today thing on June 21st on Wednesday. So that's going to be at Burt's Marketplace. So that'll be at 7 o'clock. We won't be playing any of my originals or anything like that, but we will be doing a lot of cool stuff. So Billy Cobham and I think what else do you have on the list? Quite a variety, from Billy Cobham to Luther Vandross to.
So
He
you
had a lot of neat stuff on there.
are you willing to play with other artists? Like say somebody hear you, they like, hey, well, how do we get in touch with this guy? Were you open for playing with others?
Well, I am in terms of really more a recording session type thing. You know, I mean, this is sort of a more or less a favor that I'm doing for the guys that play. I generally don't play out because I don't have a lot of time to do that.
Well, why don't you have a lot of time, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, currently I've got 2 jobs that I work at the same time. So, and I'm also doing a little bit of proofreading on the side. I do a lot of different things. So I
Right.
kind of had to find something that was going to fit in this little slot. And so I thought recordings would probably be perfect. You know, if I get an MP3 from somebody, they can email it to them and say, okay, let me know if you like this. I think Reggie's ideal of Skyping was probably perfect because, you know, I mean, you can get a lot done that way without sacrificing your seat. And then the fact that, you know, some people have a family, which I do.
Right.
2 kids in college too, don't you? 2?
Yeah, I got one going into college, and I got another that's in college, which also brought me here.
Well, you know, the funny thing about life, it sure can mess up a musician. You know what I mean? I mean,
Well, I used to see it as that. Let me just say this because that's important because I used to see it as something that was interrupting me. But you know what? I heard McCoy Tyner say it, and McCoy Tyner, I didn't even mention him, but he was one of my favorite jazz pianists. I mean, it still is. It just to me, he drew me in more to jazz, maybe the harder bebop stuff. And he mentioned that if all you are is about music, and you know, he's like, you don't really have much of a story to tell. You know, I mean, having a family should not be an interruption. It should actually enhance what you're doing because a lot of stuff can come out of that, not necessarily be an interruption to it. I think Oscar Peterson had it the wrong way, and he admitted it later that it was a big mistake for him to get involved and be so consumed with music that he was doing. I mean, he was awesome, but if you look at the background on him and so many other these musicians that, you know, they place so much emphasis on that, they never gave time for the relationship, and I'm wondering if that's maybe a big part of why their lives were so tragic, you know, because they've got a void there, and they think the solution is putting more time into the thing that brings them praise, but it's not the answer.
that would, you know what, this would be a great roundtable topic because as somebody who wanted to be out there more, with like life got in the way. I had to work 3rd shift for like 8 years.
Right.
3rd shift is like from the gig time to the end of gig time is like I couldn't do it because I had to work. But I'd rather have been playing music. Now, if I had been playing music, I might have been like, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, so that'd be a great roundtable discussion because there's pros and cons to it all. Well, so we're gonna leave that there. But that was a great insight. Some people might see it the same way you do.
It's important to see the end of the day. You know, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, you know, what do you want people to remember you by? You know, I mean, do you want just them to remember this one aspect of, well, he was great at this, but man, the rest of his life was like this? Or do you want them to remember, yeah, he was a great guy, and he was a great musician, and he was, great with this. You know, I mean, it's like when I heard you. You know, when I heard you share about the wolf bone thing, and you know, I mean, it's like you seem like such a down to earth guy. It's like you got it all. You understand the value of that. You know, the relationship with your son, and you know that stuff's important.
Okay, man. Well, look, I ain't want to keep you, man, but I do want people to have the opportunity to contact you in case it's some, you know, some stuff needed, man. I might be calling you one day. I forgot all about you until I saw you today when you pulled up in the
Let me give
car.
you my number before I leave.
I got your number. it's in here. But if we wanted to contact you, do you have like social media available, YouTube channels
I'm on Facebook.
where we can see your stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook. If you type in my name, Dean Strong, and then type in Digital Garden or the Ark, you'll see Dean Strong on there. Matter of fact, I should probably tell you, I set up a YouTube channel a few years back, and I lost my credentials, and I've been trying to get back into it. So you'll see one, and if I don't respond to you, just leave something at a comment in your email, and I'll get on there. But on Dean Strong 1, I don't know how to get back into it.
But we can.
But it's me. I lost my credentials, and by that time they had already switched over to Google as a login. Remember when it was just YouTube?
Right.
I was there during the YouTube, and I didn't change over, and so I didn't have my credentials. So
But we can still look at some of the stuff.
Still look at it, right?
Okay, cool. Well, man, and your Facebook's Dean Strong on Facebook, and then this Dean Strong on YouTube, right?
Yep.
Okay, is there any other ways we can contact you besides that? You know, like if we wanted to hire you for a wedding or a party, or
Well, you can email me. I mean, if you can catch this email, it's kind of a tricky
I'm gonna put it right down here at the bottom.
Okay, it's D Strong. That's D as in David Strong. Crow with an E on the end. CROWE 432 at gmail.com. So D Strong Crow with an E 432 at gmail.com.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say, you know, yeah, we went to play at weddings or funeral. I started to say funeral, but I'm not gonna say that, you know. But would you play at a funeral too? If somebody needs you to play?
Would I play at a funeral? Yeah, I think that I would. Yeah.
I mean, I would.
Gig, man, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's not the first thing I would think of.
I'm just saying, it's a gig, and the gig got some purpose to it.
Right. If it's a gig that fits in your under your umbrella.
I guess my only inhibitions about it might be the fact that I've never played at a funeral before, so I would have to think of something that was conducive for that. So
Do you sing?
no, I don't sing at all.
Can you sing?
I can sing within a key to let you know what key you're in, but as far as the quality of my voice,
Right.
you
I'm the
really
same.
like that very much.
I'm the same way. I can sing any note you want me to,
Oh yeah.
but that's it.
I tell you when
No
it's
melodies.
flat, I can tell you any of that stuff, but I can't do what they do, even if they're flat. So
Well, look, man, I ain't want to keep you. I just want to know how I can contact you in the future and everything, man. And you've enlightened us with your knowledge and relationship with the bass guitar. I appreciate that. So, can you just play us a little something out, man, so we can get on to our next interview?
all right, make this quick.